Welcome to Fontana Financial Planning. I'm here with our Director of Planning, Michael Dunham. I'm Patrick Fontana, founder of the firm. Today's Cup of Bull topic is credit scores. So I'm going to ask Michael a couple questions. The first, Michael, is why is our credit score important?
So where a credit score impacts you is anytime you go to borrow money. So think when you buy a car, if you get a car loan, or the biggest impact is when you buy a house, your mortgage rate is going to be determined by your credit score. Mm-hmm. So having a good credit score can save you tremendously on the amount of interest that you end up paying over the life of a mortgage or even a car loan, and that's where it can become extremely important.
Mm-hmm. So how does it work? What's the scale? What's the scoring system?
So the maximum score that you can get is 850. So it ranges from 300 on the low end to 850 on the high end. And there's 5 components that I'll put up on the screen now that drive ultimately what your credit score is. So the most important of those is payment history. Making sure that you're making all of your payments on time and in full is going to impact your credit score more than anything else. It's 35% of your score. And then on down the list, amounts owed, which is also called debt utilization, length of credit history, how long have you had your various forms of credit, your credit mix, which is what's the mix of debts that you have, whether it be a credit card or a mortgage or other types of lending, and then new credit would be the last of the 5 components.
So what is the best score? Is 850? Have you seen 850?
Not to brag, but I do have 850 myself.
I saw that. That's pretty impressive. I'm in the presence of greatness here. That's why we want to pick Michael's brain on how he made it happen. So for those of us that don't have 850, and I know that very rarely have I come across the actual 850, how can people improve their credit? What practical steps can we give them to increase their score?
Yeah, so I'm going to go over 5 steps that anybody can take to improve their credit score. So the first, we talked about how important payment history is. So I'm a big fan of autopay. If you know that it's just automatically going to happen, you remove the risk of forgetting to make a payment on time. And then the downside of missing a payment is it sticks on your credit report for 7 years. So I'll use myself as an example. When I first graduated college, I forgot to pay a bill. I was 22 years old. It went 30 plus days past due. That stuck on my credit report for 7 years. So I was 29 and that was still impacting my credit score. So the first thing is just making sure that your payments are always made on time, and autopay is a great way to make sure that happens. Second is requesting an increase on your credit limit. So we talked about debt utilization or amounts owed is a big component of your credit score. An easy way to improve your debt utilization is by requesting an increase in your credit limit. If you have a credit card with a $5,000 credit limit and you increase that to $10,000 or $20,000, all of a sudden your debt utilization goes significantly lower, and that improves your credit score.
As long as you don't use it more. So if your running balance is $2,000, keep it at $2,000, but just have more wiggle room.
Exactly. Third would be don't close old cards. We talked about length of history being an important component of your credit score. So I actually looked right before this. My oldest credit card is 16 years old. And so if I were to close that out, it would hurt my credit score because my length of credit history would shrink. Fourth is going to be to check your credit report. So you can do that for free with all of the reporting agencies once per year. And where this is really beneficial and important is making sure that there's not been any fraud where anybody's gone out and they've opened a line of credit in your name. So your credit report is going to show all forms of credit that are tied to your name, so you can review it and make sure that you are in fact the borrower on any credit that's tied to you. And then fifth would be freezing your credit. So this becomes a preventative technique to make sure that your credit score doesn't get hurt. And when you freeze your credit, what you do is it makes it to where you have to unfreeze your credit before anybody can apply for a line of credit. So if there was a fraudster out there and they went to try to open a credit card or borrow money in some way, if you have a freeze on your credit, it's going to block their application and make sure that they can't go open that fraudulent line of credit.
So excellent. Congratulations to Michael on his perfect 850 credit score and sharing a little wisdom with everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.